Cheer up. Kyungnae. This time. So there are lots and lots of different blocks in Taekwondo. You won't find yourself using all of them all the time. But when it comes to forms, there are lots and lots of different blocks that you'll need to know, even just for one form, for two forms. So this video is going to go over a few of those. Now one of those that shows up very soon, it appears in Dangun. It also comes up in later forms, is the box block, which is also known as the twin forearm block. So in this block there are two. One of them is the outer forearm middle section block, and the other one is a high block. So they start in the lower corner, they start by your hip, and they explode outward. So it's not enough to simply put it there. You really need to make sure you're blocking both. So you need to think to yourself, if something is going to attack me, if I'm being punched from one way and I've got a bat swinging down the other way, is this going to block both of them? Then you also need to think about the height. So for your front block, it's middle section, so knuckles at about your chin. For the other block, you want it really high up, just like a good high rising block. And you don't want it covering your eyes. You want to really bring it up there so it's fully blocking. You also want to remember, with your front leg is the outer section, middle section block, or outer forearm, middle section block. And with your backhand is a rising block. A lot of students get it confused at first, they don't know which one is which, but your front is always the lower one, your back is the higher one. So come forward. That's what it looks like. That's the box block. You can also do it with knife hand later on, using two knife hand blocks, and that usually appears on L stance. Now the next block you'll want to know is the wedge block. Now this definitely doesn't appear as often. I believe it's only really in the Dosan form. But for this block, you start with your arms crossed, then you come outward. So you start crossed, break outward. So this is called the wedge block. It's like you're wedging something apart. You can imagine if someone has two hands on your throat, bring up your arms and break. So that's one possible application for this block. And once again, it appears in Dosan, so we're going to be doing a walking stance, step forward, and block. And what's really important is, you see I've still got my hands out in front of me. I can still see them in my vision. You don't want your arms all the way out here. You don't want them so far back that you can barely see them. You just need to block only as much as you need to. So bring it down. Doesn't need to be too high. Don't leave it too low. Bring it up and break it apart. So I see my hands to either side. They're still fairly in front of me. They're not too wide. You can see right where they are. So that's the wedge block. Another block you'll need to know is the circular block. And it looks a lot like a side block, but this time it's on walking stance. So if we step forward, this one appears in Wan Yo. So it is really just like a side block in front of us. It's an inner forearm middle section block. And you can imagine with this block, you're blocking something, or you're even scooping down to catch the leg of somebody kicking you. So if somebody kicks toward you, you can imagine you're holding onto their leg now. Then you can control them, push into them, and cause them to fall. So that's a circular block. Once again, big circular motion, so you bring it under your elbow, block. So that's a circular block. After that, we have a few blocks that show up mostly in higher up forms. One of those is the X block. So the X block, there's two arms up here. It almost looks like you're about to do a wedge block. You just bring your arms up. You can imagine someone's bringing down something out in front of you, and it takes extra strength. Maybe you can't block it with a rising block, but you can block it with both your arms together in an X. this is another high section block. You want to really bring your forearms up there. And you see, I'm touching forearm to forearm. This is a good way to condition your forearms. We haven't talked much about that, but you can practice hitting your forearms together to increase their strength. One way to do that, and also improving your skill and technique, is with an X block. And this technique, I believe, appears in Junggu form. Another technique that appears in that form is the U-shaped block. So the U-shaped block, you can imagine you're blocking a pole of some sort coming out to one side. We're going to practice this one on L stance. So you're on L stance, leaning back, but your body is in with your arms. So your hands look like this because you're actually using your thumbs on this one. You want to use both your hands together to catch whatever pole is coming toward you, like this. So you're ready to block. It's important not to have this arm out too much. You want your hands even, so you can tuck your arm in. And you want this arm to really reach upwards. You don't want it too low, otherwise you can't see. So, really block with both. So that's the U-shaped block. There's also the W-shaped block, which I believe appears in Toy-Gay. And in that form, this block looks odd. It's almost like a wedge block. We practice that one on a turn. So if I start like this, I step in. So now I'm on a sort of sitting stance. This time it's coming from the outside forward. So it's almost like a double hammer block. This time blocking toward you. And in the form, we go 1, 2, 3, and so on. So you can practice this block if you want for Toy-Gay. This is the W-shaped block because your arms and your head make a W. So those are some blocks that you'll need to know for your forms. If I forgot any and you have questions about them, please comment and I can add some more information on. But I think that should be all for now. 徐月，兄弟，listen. Thank you.